You keep going, even when you're tired, even when something inside you hasn't rested in a long time. From the outside, things might look normal. You show up, you respond, you do what's expected of you, but inside, there's a weight that doesn't leave. You didn't click this video by accident, and it wasn't curiosity, it was recognition. Something in these words felt familiar before you even press play. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix, a tiredness that lives in the mind that won't slow down, in the heart that carries too much, in the silence that feels heavy instead of peaceful. Some days you don't even know how to explain what's wrong. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're just exhausted on a level most people never talk about. You learned how to be strong, you learned how to keep moving, you learned how to carry things quietly, but no one ever taught you how to rest on the inside. So you push forward, you smile when needed, you stay productive, you stay present, and slowly, without realizing it, you start surviving instead of living. And what hurts the most is that almost no one notices. They see the results, they don't see the cost, but God sees it. Jesus has always been drawn to people like this, not the ones who have everything together, not the loud ones, not the ones who appear strong. He moves toward the tired, the overwhelmed, the ones who are still standing but only because they don't know how to stop. If you've been feeling stretched thin, if peace feels distant, if rest feels unfamiliar, this is not random. Jesus never enters with pressure. He doesn't rush. He doesn't demand explanations. He comes quietly, right when everything inside you is slowing down, not to judge you, not to correct you, but to hold what you've been carrying alone. There are thoughts you don't say out loud, worries you keep to yourself, questions you push away because you don't have the energy to face them. He knows them all. And if you're still breathing today, still trying, still showing up, it's not because you're strong enough on your own. It's because He hasn't let go of you. Sometimes the reason you feel tired is not because you're failing, but because you've been carrying more than you were meant to carry alone. And right now, you don't need motivation, you don't need pressure, you don't need another reminder to be strong. You need rest, real rest, the kind that reaches the soul. So don't rush this moment, don't skip ahead. Let yourself stay here for a little while, because what you feel has meaning, and it's not invisible. God is not distant from your exhaustion, He is close to it, and this is only the beginning. There's a moment most people try to avoid, the moment when everything gets quiet, no noise, no distractions, no one asking anything from you. Because in that silence, everything you've been carrying starts to surface. That's why many people stay busy. They fill their days. They keep something playing in the background. They scroll. They distract themselves. Not because they're careless, but because silence feels heavy when your heart is tired. But Jesus doesn't speak through noise. He never has. He speaks in the slowing down, in the pause, in the moment you finally stop running from yourself. That's why He often meets people when they have nothing left to lean on, not when life is loud, not when things are working, but when strength is running low and pretending becomes exhausting. You see, exhaustion has a way of stripping things down. It removes the masks. It exposes what's real. And God doesn't turn away from that. He moves closer. There are seasons when you don't feel inspired. You don't feel motivated. You don't even know what to pray. You just feel empty. And maybe you've wondered if that distance means something is wrong with you. It doesn't. Sometimes it simply means you've reached the point where self-effort ends and grace begins. Jesus never asked people to come to Him once they were healed. He said, "Come to me if you are weary, if you are burdened, if you are tired." Because He knows that real transformation doesn't start with strength. It starts with honesty. And right now, your tiredness is honest. There are things you've been holding together that were never meant to rest entirely on you. Responsibilities, expectations, emotional weight, unspoken pressure, and slowly it adds up. But notice this: you're still here, you're still breathing, still listening, still open. That means something. It means that even in the quiet, even in the fatigue, even in the moments you don't understand yourself, God has not stepped away. He hasn't missed your pain. He hasn't ignored your prayers. He hasn't misunderstood your silence. Sometimes His presence doesn't feel like emotion. It feels like being held together when you don't know how you're still standing. And that is not weakness. That is grace. So if your heart feels heavy today, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to explain it. Don't rush to move past it. Let this moment be what it is. Because when everything finally slows down, that's often where Jesus is already waiting. There is something most people never realize until they're completely exhausted. You were never designed to carry life alone, not emotionally, not mentally, not spiritually. But little by little, you took on more than your share. Responsibilities that didn't belong entirely to you. Expectations that were never spoken out loud but somehow still felt heavy. And over time, you stopped asking for help. Not because you didn't need it, but because you learned that being strong was safer than being vulnerable. So you adapted, you became reliable, you became capable, you became the one others leaned on. And quietly, you started carrying things no one ever saw. That kind of weight doesn't disappear. It settles inside, and eventually it shows up as tiredness. Not the kind that sleep fixes, the kind that lives deeper. But this is where Jesus does something different. He doesn't wait for you to collapse. He doesn't wait for you to explain yourself perfectly. He doesn't wait for you to have the right words. He meets you exactly as you are, tired, worn down, still standing, but only because you've had no other choice. Jesus never said, "Come to me when you're strong again." He said, "Come to me when you are weary." Because rest isn't a reward, it's a gift. And rest doesn't begin when life gets easier. It begins when you stop carrying everything alone. Some of the things weighing on you right now were never meant to stay in your hands. Fear, uncertainty, old wounds, pressure to be enough for everyone. You've been holding them tightly, not because you want to, but because you don't know how to let go. And letting go feels risky when you've been the one holding everything together. But listen carefully. Jesus doesn't take weight from you by force. He waits until you trust Him enough to release it. And trust doesn't come from effort. It comes from presence. That's why moments like this matter. Moments where nothing is demanded of you. Moments where you're not performing. Moments where you're simply allowed to exist. If you feel a quiet heaviness lifting right now, even just a little, that's not imagination. That's what happens when you stop resisting rest. God is not disappointed in your tiredness. He is not distant from your struggle. He is not asking you to try harder. He is inviting you to breathe, to release what you've been gripping, to stop measuring your worth by endurance, to remember that being held is not the same as being weak, and maybe today doesn't change everything. Maybe your circumstances stay the same. Maybe the responsibilities don't disappear. But something shifts on the inside. You no longer carry it alone, and that changes how you walk forward. If you're still here, still listening, still open to this moment, that means grace is already working. So don't rush away from this. If this spoke to you, write in the comments. I felt this, not as a performance, not for attention, but as an acknowledgement that something inside you was seen. And if you want to remain in this space, where faith is honest, quiet, and real, subscribe and stay here. Because this isn't just one video, it's a place to rest, and the presence of Jesus doesn't end when the screen goes dark. You don't have to carry everything alone anymore.